We have some breaking news in the college football world. The Pac-12, which is the Pac-2 of Washington State and Oregon State, have added 4 schools to the conference, and quite frankly, I'm not sure any of it really makes sense. I'm going to break it all down and give my instant reaction here on today's episode of Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. Before we get to that, this is why you subscribe. When there's big storylines in the NFL or college football world, we're going to cover it, react to it here on Verts. That's what I do. My name's Harrison Graham. Let's get it popping. Subscribe to the channel if you want free NFL and college football coverage. It's what we do here on Verts. Pac-6, does that sound any good to anyone out there? The Pac-12, which is still the brand of the conference, is adding Boise State, Fresno State, San Diego State, and Colorado State from the Mountain West, which the Mountain West had kind of solidified itself as arguably the top non-power conference. So for them, this actually sucks. And I'm quite frankly not sure why this has taken place, because there's a pretty big financial significance here for both conferences. This is per Brett McMurphy. The Mountain West will receive $111 million. That's nice. With these 4 schools exiting, they all have to pay at least $17 million to exit for an exit fee. And the Pac-12 is going to owe the Mountain West $43 million because of a scheduling agreement between the 2 conferences. So you look at this, and if you're the Pac-12, you're kind of like, number one, you're not really a conference at this point. I mean, let's be honest. The Pac-12 is dead, even with these additions. They don't have power status anymore. They don't have an automatic bid into the college football playoff. What is the significance of adding these 4 schools, especially when you have to pay this much money as a conference to make it happen? It's kind of bizarre when you really think about it. And we kind of discussed this, or like when I say we, I mean sports fans, college football fans, college athletic fans. Like when the Pac-12 imploded and Oregon and USC and UCLA and these schools all left for the Big Ten, few for the ACC, yada, yada, it was kind of obvious, like, okay, the 2 remaining schools, if they don't get power invites, Washington State and Oregon State, well, just merge with the Mountain West, and at least that's a pretty solid group of 5 conference, right? Pretty good group. These 4 teams are pretty solid at that level. Oregon State and Washington State could be top tier in that conference. Why not just merge? They had already agreed to a scheduling agreement. Why not just merge? Instead, 4 Mountain West schools are going to the Pac-12 and are going to have to pay all of this money for a conference that still really isn't a conference. Like, the Pac-12 has 6 schools now. What does it even all mean? Like, you turned, this is kind of how I look at this. You had 2 options. This to significantly weaken a pretty decent group of 5 conference in the Mountain West, to strengthen a conference that's not really a conference that still isn't really a conference. Or you could have merged. And Oregon State and Washington State, at least in the short term, who knows long term if they'd get invites to the Big Ten, the ACC, the Big 12, etc. At least that would have made sense, and it seems like it would have just saved everybody a whole lot of money. Now, there's a Pac-12 commissioner, there's a Mountain West commissioner, there's athletic directors at all these schools. So there's a lot of egos involved and not wanting to sacrifice a little bit of money. But now you're going to spend big money to go to the Pac-2, which is now the Pac-6. And so, like, I look at this and I'm just like, what do you do now? Like, what is the point of all of this? Oregon State and Washington State, nothing's changed for them. The second the Big 12 comes calling, or any of the Power 4 conferences come calling, they're going to leave. So, like, if that happens, like, say that happens a year from now, which I would not rule out, these 4 schools that left the Mountain West, what was the point of it? It's just like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It does not compute. Like, does this make any sense? Like, who does this make sense for? In the short term or the long term? I mean, the only people it makes sense for, at least from a like PR standpoint, I guess, is the Pac-12. Like, hey, we've rebounded here. We're up to 6 schools now. Some okay brands. We got Boise State on board. But again, financially for those schools, it's like, really? You're paying $17 million buyout to leave the Mountain West for another non-power conference? Like, Does Boise State, do Colorado State and Fresno, do these schools, like, are they convincing themselves that this conference is going to get power status once again? That's not going to happen. Like, they're not going to get an automatic bid into the college football playoff. Now, if they can get a few more schools, which, like, who is that going to be, right? The obvious candidates are more Mountain West programs. So, again, I look at this and I'm like, are we sure basically a merger doesn't just happen anyway? Like, if anything, the Mountain West should have been more proactive in coming to some sort of an agreement with the Pac-12, like, hey, let's merge. We can come up with like a Pac-West branded merge of a conference name, whatever it is. The new Pac-12 commissioner could be the number 2 under the Mountain West commissioner, or whatever the case may be. But instead, it seems like there was no movement there. And somehow the Pac-12 has convinced these 4 schools to defect and come to their conference. It's weird. I think they're delusional if they think they can get back on the status of even the Big 12 and the ACC. So now look at this. I mean, the Mountain West is left with San Jose State, UNLV, Hawaii, Utah State, Nevada, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Air Force. I feel like a lot of those schools are just going to go to the Pac-12 next if they come calling because, again, they're going to need to. A 6-team conference is not a conference. You got to get it to at least 8, if not 10, to be somewhat serious. So I still wonder, like, do they just merge in the end anyway, and then you moved all this money around for no reason? I mean, $111 million going to the Mountain West Conference for these 4 schools leaving seems pretty egregious for a non-power conference. So, again, my reaction is, why? What's the point of all of this? So Boise State can add a Pac-12 patch to their football uniform? And by the way, these schools it'll be 2026 when they get there. What are the odds a lot doesn't change between these 2 conferences between now and 26? I'd say it's pretty likely there's going to be more movement here, and you're going to look back at this day and be like, there really was no point to that. Like, it made no sense whatsoever. So if you have any thoughts on the significance of this, could the Pac-12 get some power back? Because, like, again, they're not poaching teams from the Big 12 of significance. They're not going to convince, like, can you convince Stanford and Cal to come back? I doubt it, because for now, the ACC is a power conference. Now, the one thing you could hope for, I guess, if you're the Pac-12, ACC implodes, and maybe those geographical schools eventually just come back because it's like, well, from a travel purpose and saving cost standpoint, we'll just come back even if it's not a power conference. Like Stanford, Cal, maybe SMU would go there in that situation. But other than that, I look at this and I'm just like, this is just like you're playing college football 25 and you're custom conferencing it and moving a few schools to a different conference. Like, it has no significance on the sport or college athletics moving forward. So that's my take on it. Not trying to be super negative to any fans of these schools. I just don't really see the point. Like, I think the Mountain West was in a stronger position than the Pac-2, but apparently these schools disagreed. All right, I'm Harrison Graham. This is For Verts. More coverage to come, both in the college football and NFL world. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. We are a daily football show here on YouTube. We'll see you guys next time.